The human-elephant conflict has almost turned into a national crisis, escalating to such an extent that 50 to 60 humans die annually due to the conflict, while the country also loses around 200 to 250 wild elephants during the same period. Newsfirst has been extensively covering all angles of this story in recent times, highlighting the plight of both humans and elephants caught up at crossroads in the conflict. Commencing today, this special series, which you are about to witness, will attempt to detail the issues faced by both parties to the conflict, creating a platform for discussion on a calamitous issue.
The Asiatic elephant, botanically named Elephas maximus, is sometimes known by the name of its subspecies category, which is Elephas. Incidentally, Sri Lanka is only second to India in terms of having the largest elephant population in Asia. 10% of the region's elephant population is incidentally in Sri Lanka.
According to the Red Data book published by the IOCN, which examines perceived risks in the region, the elephant population in India and Sri Lanka are slowly going extinct. Based on available data, such animals which are threatened with extinction are less in numbers in India and Sri Lanka.
Despite the fact that human activity in Sri Lanka dates back nearly 30,000 years, zoologists are of the view that elephants have been present in the country for almost 300 million years. They also say that the elephant population at the time was spread in all parts of the island. With time, however, human habitats began expanding, threatening the natural habitats of these elephants. The remaining elephant population of around 5,000 elephants left in the island are confined to a mere 1% of the country's total landmass.
Most of the areas which used to have a considerable elephant population have now been developed, so humans and elephants are forced to coexist in such areas. If we compare the food consumption patterns of humans and elephants, at present there are several similarities, since most of the crops which are cultivated by humans are favoured by elephants.
This fact in itself has led to a conflict between humans and elephants. On the other hand, the country's elephants rake in a vast amount of money through the tourism industry as well. Have we been able to maintain an ecological balance by protecting both the lives of humans and these elephants? On tomorrow's edition of this special report, we will bring you details of how these elephants began gradually losing their natural habitats.
Now, villages centered around the Mahaveli zone's Northwestern Wildlife Zone, Siala and Udawalawa parks are the most affected by the never-ending struggle between man and elephant. Almost all of these villages survive on agriculture-based economies. It is tragic, however, that wild elephants destroy the cultivations that these farmers invest so much of time and money in, and in some instances, take the life of the sole breadwinner of the family as well. Residents of the Mahaveli zones, Northwestern Wildlife Zones in Yala and Udawalawa areas have an unbreakable bond with nature. They are eternally in their chaina cultivations, paddy fields or even their gardens and can never distance themselves from their surroundings. However, this in itself has made these villages a prime target for wild elephants.
I can't tell you of the suffering I undergo at night. I'm helpless as I live alone. When the elephant attacked my house, I couldn't step out of it. When I finally came out, the elephant was just there. I ran and the elephant chased after me. When the husbands are attacked and killed, it's the women who are left alone at home.
It doesn't matter how much we shout out about it, it all falls on deaf ears. Since the authorities don't provide these villages with solutions, they have taken matters into their own hands. The decrease seen in the loss of human life owing to wild elephant attacks over the past few years bears testimony to this fact. In 2005, the number of deaths reported owing to wild elephant attacks stood at 67. In 2006, the number of later deaths went up to 80. However, this figure dropped to 50 by the year 2009. Meanwhile, 3 deaths were reported during the month of January this year. The most recent such incident was reported on the 9th of this month in Lunagambehera. The targets of the rampaging elephant were a hapless mother, father and their 2 children. It flattened their house and claimed the life of the father, leaving the family destitute. This house was located right on the edge of the forest. Several days earlier, a farmer in the Nuwaragala area in Polonnaruwa who was on his way to hospital was also attacked and killed by a wild elephant. We will now have to think about placing people in restricted areas for their safety by going beyond this concept, which was initially for elephants. These two parties are battling for their resources. They cannot live together. This concept will not sink when considering the patterns of human beings with regard to utilizing land. Tomorrow we will inquire into the consequences suffered by the elephant population as a result of this ongoing conflict.
Welcome back. According to environmentalists, the main obstacle in the protection of elephants that are facing the threat of extinction is their movement away from the forest reserve separated for them. They point out that as a result, elephants are killed due to human activity.
Elephants, which have a large physique, spend most of their time in searching for food. An elephant consumes 250 to 300 kilograms of food and 200 liters of water per day. Environmentalists point out that in order for elephants to consume this amount of food and water, it is difficult for them to live restricted to a particular area. Due to this reason, travelling a distance of 10 to 30 kilometers a day in search of food and water is an inherent part of the elephant's life cycle.
We have been working on solutions for the human-elephant conflict for 50 years. We were of the view that the entire elephant population should live within forest reserves of the Wildlife Conservation Department. However, 70% of the elephant population lives outside forest reserves at present.
Elephants travel from one forest reserve to another in search of food, and the roads that are used for this purpose are known as elephant corridors. The implementation of development projects across elephant corridors and the emerging of civilizations and farmland around them have interrupted the migration patterns of elephants. This elephant corridor, situated in the Kitulkote area in Thanamalwila, runs across houses and paddyland.
They say this is an elephant pass, but nothing is clear. What you can see here is the manner in which elephants have travelled on a land prepared for cultivation. Elephants roam this farmland constantly as the elephant corridor is situated close by.
A majority of elephants that use these routes are unable to move away from farmland as they are subjected to various forms of harassments by humans. According to the Department of Wildlife Conservation, more than 50% of elephants are shot and killed, and the country loses around 200 to 250 elephants due to human activity annually. The fact that 37 deaths were reported in the Mahaweli zone this year alone is a fine example that shows the gravity of this situation. The latest of these incidents was reported from the Hambantota district, where an expectant elephant died due to electrocution.
I would clearly state that if the situation continues, we will only see elephants in wildlife parks. The rest will perish. The government too has to understand the situation before it further aggravates and takes action to demarcate these areas and take them out of the development projects. A decision has to be taken to give the elephants their required space.
Tomorrow we will inquire into the measures taken to control the human-elephant conflict.
Over the past few days, Newsfirst has been revealing the ecological imbalance that has taken place due to haphazard development activities. We pointed out that this is a primary cause of the human-elephant conflict. Environmentalists point out that certain remedial measures taken to find a quick solution for this problem are short-lived. Tonight, we focus our attention on the success rate of the efforts taken to drive away elephants into forest reserves.
According to environmentalists, 50% of the elephants in the country live outside forest reserves. With the threat of wild elephants increasing over the recent past, the Wildlife Department took measures to drive these elephants back to their habitats. A large number of officers were utilized for this task along with equipment. Is this a successful method?
When problems arise, they drive the elephants away. The elephant problem remains not within. Before this group returns back home, the elephants are at large once again. You have to address the root causes of the problem. You have to see whether there is food inside these sanctuaries, whether you could find water, and whether there is ample room for the elephants to live. If these questions are answered, we will be able to obtain a satisfactory result.
However, the Wildlife Department points out that the program to drive away elephants take place subsequent to analysing the problems faced by these pachyderms.
We drive these elephants to areas where they can find ample food. If we direct the elephants to areas where there is no food, they might destroy the crops in the vicinity. Firstly, we make sure that the proper environment is created, and only then do we drive the elephants away.
On the other hand, environmentalists point out that elephants do not show much enthusiasm to stay inside forest reserves.
After
chasing the elephants away, we have a responsibility to find out what happened to them. After restricting these elephants to forests, the health condition of these elephants deteriorates. This results in the death of many elephants.
Due to these reasons, environmentalists point out that restricting elephants to forest reserves is not a successful method.
By restricting a large number of elephants to just one area, problems arise. This method is not a successful method to address this problem.
Newsfirst will take a look at another method utilized to minimize the repercussions of the human-elephant conflict tomorrow.